import it to my computer, then I'll be able to find it. So, uh, so I think we are recording. So I'll go ahead and start. And once again, I want to thank you, Mitch and Nick from Harvey's Plumbing and Heating in Belgrade, Montana, for joining us today. Mitch and Nick are going to talk a little bit about what employers are looking for a good candidate for a registered apprenticeship program, and how that how students could better prepare if they're interested in a plumber's apprenticeship. Mitch, if you wanted to talk a little bit about that, about Harvey's Plumbing and how you got your start and what you guys are looking for now.
Sure. For us, to get into the apprenticeship, spots are limited. So it's, for me, I'm looking for somebody who's really eager to get into the trade, whether they're coming from maybe doing, a job from carpentry or anything that may be in the construction field for a summer work or anything like that, kind of get them used to being on a job site, reading a tape measure, some of those basics. That can even come from us. I've hired some kids straight out of high school. They're green. They don't really understand much about construction, but they're just eager to get into it. I'm looking for somebody, that they're smart, they're willing to learn, and they have a good work ethic. It means they're going to show up every day on time, and they're going to work as hard as they can, and they're going to pay attention and learn every little aspect of the day. And for me, there's no real timeline to that. It's, do I have a spot open, and is this kid seem to be somebody who's going to progress and take this seriously and want to stay with it? If they're going to stay with it and they show me some of those things, then they're going to be the first candidate I want to get in the apprenticeship. So start teaching them more and be able to get them hands-on and be able to actually start touching drainage and water and things like that. So, and then staying up with good work, it's just like school, it's class. There's a lot of things to it, asking questions. There's so many people around in this trade that know a lot about it. And it's just asking questions and really applying yourself to that book work, because you're working a full day's worth of work and you still have homework and book work to do. And it's somebody who's going to apply themselves to do that is important to look for.
So Mitch, some of the folks we might get on here is not only, students, but teachers, CTE teachers, administrators of schools. Is there advice you could give to them on how better to prepare their students, as far as maybe setting up pre-apprenticeship programs or work-based learning programs to teach them some of those skills in high school?
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I think, shop classes, things like that are awesome. I think they just kind of learn building blocks that you can use through life. It's not even if you're in the trades, they're just little things that you'll pick up to better understand how to fix something or how to work on something or how to read a tape or how to operate a tool and be safe while operating that equipment. I think shop classes always typically were woodworking or metalworking. There's no, I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be more of a trade-based thing where you can, maybe they touch on electrical and touch on plumbing and touch on carpentry and get these kids a little better idea. So when they come out of high school, they have a better idea of what that trade might be for them. Do I like working with certain types of material? Do I like, the math that comes along with this trade or that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in high school for learning that stuff. Even if you never used it, you went to college and you got a different kind of job, just being able to know how to fix a faucet at your house or, repair a light switch or, little things like that, I feel like are going away. Kids definitely need to learn that stuff.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, Mitch, if you had a student that, say, a high school graduate stopped by Harvey's Plumbing and Heating and he had a certificate that he had completed a pre-apprenticeship program, that he had some construction trades background and stuff like that, would that give you a better idea that this person's already prepared and got some skills? He would have an outline of, maybe he had done some advanced math courses already and things like that.
Absolutely.
Because that's really what we'd like to get going in more schools, is that basic understanding of the industry. And then, as you said, it could be carpentry or any construction trade, that's going to be value. And then when they pick an occupation to go in a specific direction, they've already got that skill. So.
Right. I think there's some real basic building blocks in all of construction, all of trades, really, that really just kind of sets you up to succeed on your first day of work. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's some kids that come in, they don't have any of those skills or tools, which is fine, and they're willing to learn those things, but you throw them into a pretty fast-paced environment, on the job, first day one, they show up, and if they don't, they feel like they don't have some of those, they're going to lose the interest a little bit quicker, and they're going to feel like they're failing and not succeeding. And
Mm-hmm.
so a few of those building blocks is a pretty major deal to just help them get started.
Okay, right. I'm going to let Lindsay or Cole or Mark, if they might have any questions, and then maybe we'll jump over to Nick and ask him a little bit about his experience with the apprenticeship program. So go ahead, guys.
I didn't have a question, but I kind of had a statement just kind of leading off of what Mitch had said about getting somebody and having a spot for them. I think it's really important for students to be aware that when an apprentice has that apprenticeship spot, how it is somewhat coveted because of the ratio requirements of the licensed trades. There's only so many spots available. So when a student maybe comes in and you guys put them to work sweeping your shop, I wouldn't want them to feel frustrated, or that they're not going to go anywhere. Just because those spots, you have to kind of earn those spots, and you have to be, an important asset. And you're an investment to, say, Harvey's, if you guys were hiring them, to put in those apprenticeship programs. So, sometimes I have people that just say, I want to be a plumber, but they're not really willing to maybe be a laborer for a little bit. So I do always think that that's incredibly important, that they understand that it's because of the ratio and the state requirements that don't allow Harvey's to have 100 apprentices in one license, one journeyman or a master's. So I always find that kind of the one thing that sometimes maybe can hold people back a little bit if they can't instantly find that plumbing apprenticeship. Also, those people that do have those spots, they more than likely earned it by sweeping the shop or by putting themselves out in the industry and learning those basic skills like you guys were just talking about.
Thanks, Lindsay. Cole?
So I guess my question, Mitch, have you had contact with the local high schools? Have they reached out to you? Have you reached out to them? Has there been any communication? And if not, is that something that you would like to see more of or less of, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've had a little bit of contact. We've kind of promoted it. I think we've gotten a little bit we do a lot of virtual design and construction. So we do a lot of Revit work and 3D modeling. So we've gotten a little bit from that aspect, gotten kids a little interested in that side of things, which is another part of the trades that we're going to have to fill more positions with. But no, I'd like to be more involved with high schools and, shop teachers, and just kind of get to know those guys, because they might see some potential in a kid coming out. And I like those references. I like knowing, that this kid's got a positive reference from a peer or, a teacher or something like that that's going to, set him apart from somebody else. So, yeah.
Hey, Mitch, would you want to, at Harvey's specific, or even just in the plumbing industry in general, what maybe career paths are above and beyond, becoming an apprentice and then a journeyman?
Sure. I started as an apprentice, and I grew through. You start at the bottom of the barrel, you kind of work your way up. It's really not set on a yearly or wage thing. It's more, your willingness to learn and be a better employee. And then I moved into being a foreman, kind of running smaller crews within a job, up to a superintendent where you're kind of running a bigger portion of the job. You're doing a little less hands-on, a little more management. And then there's project managers, where you're in the office, you're putting bids together, you're doing more like the job setup and closeouts, operations. I mean, there's a lot of, you own your own business. Once you get your master's license, you now have a license to own your own business in the state of Montana, which is pretty cool. If you're somebody looking to be an entrepreneur and start something of your own, it's a pretty easy path to get to a point where you could do something like that. So, yeah.
That's good. that's exactly was one of my follow-up questions, Lindsay. So thanks. Is, you know, so I think some students think that's all that my opportunity is. I'm going to be a plumber, right? And cleaning out drains or whatever, you know, the being in the ditch, but there is tremendous opportunities, you know, beyond that.
Yeah.
Like you said, even, you know, running your own business at some point if you want to. So,
Yeah.
Mark, did you have any questions for Mitch or comments?
No, I echo and, you know, appreciate, you know, what you shared. You know, one of the things that, you know, I certainly, I don't want to call it an easy path, but at the same time, it's kind of an A plus C or an A plus B, you know, equals C type of path. You know, if you go in the apprenticeship, you put in the work and you complete it. And then, like you said, you get to the journeyman level and then you become a master. You can open up your own shop, and not everything, not all careers work like that. You know, right time, right place, you know, maybe you got to do this or that, where I think with the trades, it does. Do you have any thoughts or anything that you'd say on what you're looking for with soft skills? Just kind of the leadership, show up on time to work, stuff like that.
Yeah, setting positive example, willing to teach, you know, I think is a big deal. Like, you know, having journeymen, you know, not everybody's wanting to or willing to or even good at being a teacher or a leader to kids, but it's a big deal for us to have those kind of guys in place so we can train apprentices correctly and set them up to succeed. You know, I think it's a kind of an intangible and it's something that you got to look for, but as long as people are applying themselves and working hard and really trying to do the best, I mean, everybody that does that, I see succeed in the trade. You know, as long as you put forth that effort, you usually get that back in return. So,
All right.
You have to do a lot of or any preparation or like a training, the trainer, like a mentor.
yeah, I mean, I like to put younger guys with more experience, guys that I know are better at training guys. So, you know, those are the guys that are going to train the apprentices, and they're going to be with them every day and talk with them and help them with their books and talk to them about it at lunch and in the car ride up and down to Big Sky and things like that. So it's definitely finding the right guys to be trainers. It might not be the site superintendent, might be just a normal plumber guy, but he's good at communicating with this individual, and so they're gonna kind of pair them together. So
good, thanks. Well, Nick, I'm going to jump over to you a little bit. Give us a little background of you know, what your thoughts were coming out of high school and what you did and how you got to where you are today.
Well, as like any other student coming out of high school, you'd think you'd have to go to college, right?
Mhm.
I went to college, did it for about a semester. I didn't really like it because they make you do some classes that don't really translate to what you're going for, just to get an extra few dollars out of you. But I got out of that, moved up to Montana, started bouncing around doing construction, doing like insulation. I didn't really care for that all that much. Plumbing I never thought about it like going into an apprenticeship. I just did it as a job and ended up really liking it. I wish I had actually gotten into it a lot sooner. You know, once you get your license, that's good in all 50 states. You can take that to anywhere. You know, you'll always have a job, no matter what. But yeah, you'll learn a lot in the apprenticeship. And I wish, what were you guys talking about the school programs? I wish I had gotten that, because when I got in the apprenticeship, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about plumbing. I didn't have experience doing tools. I wish I had that. But I think that would be a really good thing for kids to learn. And
What about your debt? You think it'd be good to the amount of debt that it took to become a plumber?
aside from buying tools and buying clothes, no, there's no debt. But with the college, I had just finished paying off my debt 2 months ago. And I've been out of college for 8 years, you know, since 2012, and that was one semester. I mean, granted, I weren't like huge payments, but it still took me 8 years to pay that off. I mean, could you imagine going for 4 or 5 years and amounting, I don't know how much money college is now, but with
Maybe
the
about,
apprenticeship, what's that?
maybe about 40,000.
something like that. But with the apprenticeship, there's no cost. You get paid to do the apprenticeship. You know, it's on-site learning. I mean, how does it get better than that? I mean, it's effectively a college degree. I mean, it's 4 years long. You got to have book work to go through it, and you learn as you go. I like that a lot better than going to college and not getting paid. I mean, you'll start out at a competitive rate. I mean, if you start out at $16 an hour in 2 years, you're making $8 more an hour, like I am.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good. I mean, after 4 years, you can be around $30 an hour. How could you not like that?
Exactly. So if the best advice, and you probably worked with some younger people coming in now too, you know, into the shop or whatever, or seen them out on the job, what's the best advice you could give to a high school student if they're considering, you know, entering a trade?
Be willing, like come to work and try. You know, you don't want to be on the job site moping around and that ain't going to work. We're going to see that right away, and we're going to know you don't want to be there. We want you to want to be there. You know, you got book work, so I mean, you're going to have a long 10-hour long day and then get off and have to do book work. You're not going to want to, but just have the willingness to learn, ask questions. That'll separate you from everything else. You know, like I said, I started out with no experience. I didn't know how to do any of these, run any tools. I didn't know how to read plans. You don't need to be super smart to be able to learn this stuff.
Well, I think you do. I think you're selling yourself short a little
Yeah,
bit, Nick. It's you know, critical thinking and having the vision and to be able to, you know, see a job, look at a plan, and know that when you started in the morning, you actually accomplished something by the end of the day, right? To me, I think that's really important. So
Being mechanically inclined.
yeah.
That's a skill that
I mean,
not everybody has.
I wish I had those going through school, but I didn't have those.
Right.
Those, like job classes and reading plans or whatever going through high school. I think that would definitely benefit some kids.
Yeah. Better prepare you. Yeah.
Yeah, and on Nick, I mean, he came to us. He'd already started his apprenticeship, with a different company, and came to us and, sat down for an interview. And we only had, at the time, I believe, only the one spot. And, I sat down and interviewed with him and immediately noticed that, he was a year or so into hours in his apprenticeship, but he had almost half of his books done. And that right there, I saw that and was like, well, obviously he's applying himself and trying. It was an easy hire for us. So, somebody who wants to come in and do a little above and beyond, it goes a long way in the apprenticeship and in the trade and just, overall company, yeah.
The willingness, that's it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Just applying yourself.
Enjoying it. I mean, I know a lot of guys really enjoy it. And they go home, they study it, they look at it. I mean, it interests them. It sometimes can be a hobby for some of these guys. They work and then it's their hobby at home too. So
Yeah. Well, Lindsay, Cole, Mark, any questions or follow up for Nick?
Nick, I just had one. So with you, starting college and then deciding to pursue the apprenticeship route, now being where you're at and knowing, that you're on the path to your journeyman, do you see a lot of advantages or even disadvantages compared to your peers that took different career paths or different paths to finding their careers?
I mean, there's not a lot of people that I know that finished college. A lot of my friends are also in the apprenticeship, but that advantage is not having a boatload of debt when you get out. Like, you have the license, it's effectively a college degree with no debt, but that would be the advantage. As a disadvantage, I don't know. Maybe someone just likes whatever they're doing better. I mean, it is up to you. It's not everyone's going to do this. So
yeah. Cole?
So I was wondering if you could go over maybe the most unique or most fun project you worked on? I think when everyone hears of a plumber, they think of working with pipes and toilets, but if you could go over something, that at least stood out in your mind as a unique project.
You know what's really funny is every time you say you're a plumber to someone that doesn't really know plumbing, they always just automatically think that you're just unclogging toilets. That's all you do is just service and clogging toilets. No. Probably one of the funnest plumbing ones, that probably just something up in Big Sky, just working on like unique, enormous homes that you go, oh, cool, like Matt Damon lives here. I worked on his house, or Tom Brady's house or something. Like I plumbed that,
Yeah.
something like radiant heat or something, building a cool mech room, and then you can look at it, and you can always say, like, anytime you drive by that, you can go, I did that house, or I did that building. That's a pretty cool accomplishment.
Yeah.
Mark, you got any questions for Nick?
No, I think you've done a nice job kind of highlighting, the career path and your debt-free experience into a solid, non-outsourceable job.
Yeah. Well, that's the key. I think one thing there is to understand that I don't care what people say. We're going to need plumbers. We're going to need electricians. We're going to need carpenters. There's a real opportunity for young people there. And we're not saying either that college isn't important, because there's still need for those career paths also. But Nick, I agree with what you're saying. When you can say, when you worked on a $5 or $10 million home, you got to take pride in that work. You're not gonna, I get a lot of pictures from my son that he sends me of, hey, here's a home he worked on. It had 30 different zones on the heating system, right? 5 freaking boilers in the place or something. And, you see this beautiful parallel, nice layout in the utility room, that's pride in your work, and having something where, someone is going to come into that place and you did that and you did it right. I mean, that's a big deal. And I think that's a real marketing tool that we can talk to young people about of, you're not just cleaning toilets out or unplugging drains. You're working on $1 million homes, and there's real pride in your work to do that. So.
Yeah. Well, and even on the service, side of things, when it's wintertime and you get a freeze up and someone calls for emergency, you're the guy that gets to go over there and make their day. You get to fix their problem. You get to get them through the holiday or the weekend. You get a lot of gratitude from people for that stuff. And you just, gives you a real good sense of accomplishment, no matter what part of the trade you're in, just being a part of that. So
service is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun in service.
Yeah.
Just to touch on that education, that college piece, nobody is saying that college isn't important. Well, the plumbing industry says that very clearly because you guys incorporate college into your licensing requirements. I mean, your apprentices do go to college. They have to complete college level coursework in a college level program. Essentially you guys do appreciate college and understand the importance of that book work and that that portion of the learning for sure.
Yeah, continuing education is very important.
Yeah.
Whether, and there's just so many different options for every kid and everybody coming out of high school. And I feel like we kind of, as a society, kind of focus that into one specific thing when there's so many other things out there. And, everybody's
it's not brick and mortar college, but it's, you guys are doing your licensing requirements force you guys to do those, and even continuing education you guys have to do even after.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've got a few minutes left. I guess one last question would be, if there was a high school student to see this today that wanted to become a plumbing apprentice, what advice would you give them to get going, and where would they start? How do they get into an apprenticeship?
To get an apprenticeship, first thing is just, if you don't know what you're, most likely coming out of high school, you're not going to know what trade is going to be the best fit for you, one that's going to excite you. So the best thing to do is to go around, try and get some references from some good companies that, you hear is a good place to work, and get a summer job. I hired a kid in between his junior and senior year to become a plumbing laborer. He worked for us for the summer, did a great job, went back, finished high school, I really didn't expect to hear from him again. And they called up and he's working for us again. And now he's on track to become an apprentice. So just kind of dabbling in some summer work, some side work, get in with a construction company, learn what you can, decide if that's what you want to do. If not, try a few around. I mean, there's always construction being done. There's always guys trying to hire laborers, especially in the summertime, and kind of get a feel for what you want to do. And then just start applying for jobs and try and get in with somebody that, you feel like is going to advance your, apprenticeship and get you in and that kind of stuff.
All right. All right. Well, it looks like we're at the end of our half hour. Mitch, I really want to thank you again, and Lindsay for setting this up. And I know you guys are really busy, and Nick for taking the time to join us today and share some of your insights on, apprenticeship and how we might be able to steer some students in the right direction. And Nick, good luck to you. I mean, either you'll be running things when Mitch goes whatever someday, maybe at Harvey's or somewhere else. We hope you're still at Harvey's when you get done. And but good luck to you, and good job on keeping up on all your coursework and everything else. So
Thank you.
thanks again for everything. And Mitch, if we ever get done with COVID, next time I'm in the area, I'll stop by, and Lindsay and I will stop and visit with you. So
Sounds good.
once again, appreciate the time.
Yep. Nope. Thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So-
guys.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. So Cole, I'm going to stop the recording.